Yeah, one question, Daniela. Can we share the
Okay.
screen for the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, sure. I'll give the authorization. You just have to share it. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Daniela.
So, you're welcome. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning to Dr. Aliaga and Dr. Triantafylidis. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. And for all those that are not familiar with Loops, this is a live webinar series that we at Velta has organized to shed light on the innovation and research produced by the Horizon 2020 funded projects in the field of circular economy. I am Daniela Bruccoli, and I am the communication assistant at Velta. And I just want to give all of you a warm welcome to this episode today. So today's topic is going to be about plastic waste and pollution. And we have the pleasure to talk to Dr. Aliaga and Dr. Triantafylidis, who are going to show their work and talk about their projects, namely, respectively, PlastiCircle and CLAIM, which are projects devoted to they are committed to addressing the issue of plastic waste and pollution by approaching it from different angles. I don't want to say too much because I'm sure they will explain way better in a few minutes. So before moving forward, I just would like our guests to introduce themselves. So Dr. Aliaga, do you want to start?
Okay. Thank you, Daniela.
You're welcome.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, that's perfect.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be today here to speak about our project PlastiCircle. First of all, I will introduce myself. I'm working in ITENE. We are the Packaging Institute in Spain, and we are working with many projects related with packaging, new materials, new applications, validation, but also circular economy, circular economy of packaging. And this project that I will explain today is one of those. We are coordinating this project. It was a 4-year project, and we were working in new technologies in order to make packaging or plastic packaging circular. So I will go more in detail afterwards, but just for you to know more or less my background and also how the project is about.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Please, Dr. Triantafylidis, you can go ahead.
Good morning. I'm George Triantafylidis. I'm the project manager of the CLAIM project. I'm working in the Hellenic Center of Marine Research in Greece. And the project that I'm going to present you today is cleaning marine litter by developing and applying innovative methods.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'm just going to give a general overview of what the episode will be about. So each of our guests will deliver a presentation about their work, about their results and achievements in their project. And at the end of both presentations, there's going to be a Q&A session. So I'm going to start asking a few questions, but we also want the audience to ask as many questions as possible. So please, if you have questions, submit them in the chat board of the LinkedIn event page, and then we'll pick them up at the end of the whole discussion. Okay, so now I'm just going to leave the floor to Dr. Aliaga, who's going to talk about PlastiCircle.
Okay, thank you, Daniela.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna try to share the screen. So
yes. 1 second.
yeah, can you see the screen now?
1 second. No, not yet.
So I will do the other way around. No? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And slides are passing as well. Okay, great. So I will start with the project PlastiCircle. Just is a very brief presentation, very straightforward presentation. I will briefly comment which problem are we facing in the project, also which is the solution that we are proposing in this project, partners participating, the areas of research, then the pilots, that was one of the main pillars of the project, and then benefits and the timeline, and also an opportunity or some information on how to get involved to the project. No? So regarding the problem, we are facing one, let's say, very important or very, let's say, fashion problem that we are facing now with many legislation, which is the plastic issue. Plastic is giving like many functionalities. Plastic is needed for many applications, but also we need to improve the management of plastics. Actually, currently we have around 27 million tons per year plastic, and only around 31% is recycled in the European Union. No? And that generates a very high economic impact, no? Because we have to pay for these plastics to be in the landfill or for these plastics to be incinerated, but also because we are not using these plastics. So we are, let's say, manufacturing new plastics and we are wasting other plastics. So this is a very important economic impact that is calculated in around 11 million euros per year, billion with B, okay, in the European Union. And also a very high environmental impact, which is around the heating. So we are wasting material that will let us heating 1 million houses during almost 100 years, which is, let's say, a lot of resources. No? Also, in this, let's say, plastic problem, packaging has a lot to say because it represents around 60% of the sector, and we really think that the amounts of plastic valorized is so low because we are collecting low quantities. Also, the quality is quite low because we are mixing plastics all together, which makes more difficult to get value from them. And also, we are developing until now low added value applications. And this is very important because if we are not able to prepare added value applications, then the market is not going to work. So to make market work, it needs really added value in recycled products. That's why the PlastiCircle project wanted to solve all this issue, all this problem, developing new technologies in the area of collections to collect more packaging and with more quality. Also in the part of the transporting waste from the cities to the plants in a more efficient way. Also sorting, because this is very important. We need really to separate the different plastics, otherwise we cannot recycle them properly. And finally, new applications, new market applications that makes more, let's say, that make the industry get money from the plastics, because otherwise they are not, let's say, they are not having any incentive to recycle plastics. So that's why we are working in those 4 areas: collection, transport, sorting, and recycling. So who are participating in the project? So we are 20 partners all around Europe. You can see the images in the different countries. We have research institutes, we have trade associations, recycling companies, very important, waste management companies, and also municipalities. We have 3, the city of Valencia, where I'm located, here in Spain, then Utrecht in the Netherlands, and Alba Iulia in Romania. That was very important because we have, let's say, implemented, we have tested, we have checked that all those technologies are let's say, are functioning or are okay in 3 very different environments, because how this plastic collection is very different in the 3 countries. So that's why we wanted to validate our technology in 3 different, let's say, areas, no? to see if they are working or not, and to adapt the technologies to be able to build something that is able for all Europe. No? This is our aim. So, as I mentioned, 4 areas of research. The first one was collection. So what did we do in collection? So we have developed smart containers and also compensation to citizens. So we want to make citizens also get money, get value, get incentives in order to do it well. No? Not just because of the environmental, let's say, awareness, but also because they get money for their pockets, no? So that's why we developed one smart container which is able to know who is throwing the garbage and with which quality. Okay, so how it works? So each citizen gets a label, a card. Sorry, gets a card, and then with the card you can go to the packaging container. You can put your card. You get a label that you can stick in your plastic bag, and then you throw the bag in the container. Okay, then the bag is characterized. Not all the bags are characterized because this is impossible, but it's a random characterization, maybe one bag per 10,000, and then we have a formula, and depending on the composition of the bag, then we are given some value performance to the citizens. So we know if you are, let's say, a good citizen or a bad citizen, and depend in the regarding environmental point of view, of course, no. So then, depending this value, this performance, then we are giving some compensations to the citizens. And in the future, the idea is that information will be useful for the taxis. So we can give more taxis for people not doing it well and give less taxis for the people doing it well. So this is, let's say, the functioning of the smart container. Then regarding the transport, which is the second part of the research, we are putting in the container also filling level measurements, and that lets us to make a route optimization. For instance, we can tell to the system we want to pick up only containers that are filled with more than 80% of material. No? So then the system calculates, knows which containers are full and which are not, and then it makes the route depending on this information. So we are saving a lot of fuel, no? Which is the aim of this part. Also, we are doing eco driving, so a new way of driving in order to save also fuel. And we have developed a platform that connects all the systems. So all the information regarding the citizens, who is participating, who not, the performance, the filling level, the routes, and everything is all in one platform. So this is our second work. Here you can see some images regarding the route optimization, the driving guidance, and the platform. Then the third part of the research is sorting. This is very important because once the plastic is in the plant, we cannot recycle altogether. So we really need to separate between different materials, different polymers. For instance, PET should be recycled only with PET or polyethylene only with polyethylene. No? So we have developed some new technology in order to get more efficiencies in this sorting and also to be able to separate films. Films separation is very difficult because it's very light, and with the speed of this work, then many films can be, let's say, not stable in the conveyor belt. So that's why we have developed a new system in order to make films to be stable and to be able to separate also films by material. This is also very important for the industries. Here you can see also some images and the plant. This plant is available now in one company, one of our partners in Barcelona, in the company Big Visa. And finally, we have been working with 5 industries. So once the material is collected, very well collected by the citizens, then very well transported, optimized, very well sorted, no? Then the last stage is recycling. So we have involved 5 partners, 5 industries, making new products with this post-consumer plastic. This is also very innovative work. Why? Because until now, they were working more with virgin polymers or with post-industrial. But let's say the innovation here in PlastiCircle is to use not virgin, not industrial, but post-consumer plastics, and to develop applications like those: automotive parts, membranes, foam boards, ground retention, and garbage bags. So also the companies have been doing a very impressive work. We have CRF that is working with Fiat. This is the company, the automotive industry is working here. Also Derbyboom, Armacell, Han, Interval. So many nice applications, and the idea is to launch these products into the market just after the end of the project. We have already the products developed, and now we are working with the market analysis and business plan. We want these technologies to be in the market. So pilot cities, we have 3, as I mentioned before. The pilot in Valencia was the first one. It was 2 years ago, and it was working very well. It was 6 months. We have more than 500 families participating, more than 3,000, around, no, it was around 700 families, around almost 2,000 people participating in one district. And yeah, they were using this container, the transport was also being in place, the sorting, and so on. So it was working quite well. Then we did it in Utrecht. In Utrecht was a bit different because it was a bit shorter, 3 months. And also we did some combination between technologies of PlastiCircle with technologies that they had already, like in order to compare and see how efficiencies are changing. And finally, the last pilot was in Alba Iulia in Romania. We had COVID just in the middle, so we have to extend it because it was some actions were cancelled. So it was also a challenge, but we did it anyways. And at the end, it was 5 months. It was longer than expected in order to be adapted to the situation. Also, very good results there. So the benefits of the project, I would say, that are technological, because we are developing new technologies that I'm sure that they will be available in the market very soon. Also social and economic, because we are making new models, new businesses. Also, we are involving citizens. We are making them more active, more participants in the waste management. And also environmentally, because we are reducing landfilling, we are reducing incineration, and we are reducing, very important, the use of virgin material. This is important, especially in Europe, in the European Union, because we don't have, let's say, fuel as a resource. So it's important to be, let's say, to be able to have our own raw materials here. So important also in an economical and political, let's say, point of view. And where do we stand? So we are almost finishing the project. We are in the month 46, so we will finish it in May. So we have developed everything. We have tested all the technologies. They are all available. And now what we are doing is doing dissemination a lot. I take advantage just to tell you that our final forum will be the 13th of April. So if you want to join us, it will be a whole day speaking about the results of PlastiCircle, the 13th of April. So invited, all of you. And also we are doing all the research to drive the technologies to the market. We are doing very strong, very powerful business plans for all the products. And as I mentioned before, we really want to launch all those products to the market from May. So if you want to get involved, I will invite you also to visit our webpage, also to follow us in the social networks, for instance, in Twitter. And also we have a very impressive project video of 3 minutes. So if you want to know a bit more, you can always click on this link and you can enjoy our project video, which is really impressive. It's really nice. And that was all from my side. I don't know if you want to comment or to have any question. I will be more than glad to answer you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aliaga, for this detailed presentation. I'll just keep the questions for at the end of both presentations, and then we'll pick them up all together. So now, just for all the people that tuned in later, so Dr. Aliaga has just given a presentation about his project, PlastiCircle. And now I'm just going to leave the floor to Dr. George Triantafylidis, who's going to talk about his project, CLAIM. So please take away.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to share my screen, but I can't for some reason.
Let's see.
I'm going to give you the presentation for the
We
CLAIM.
have... Hello. Good morning,
Hello,
Dr. Triantafylou.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome. He's joining us for the presentation, for this presentation of the project CLAIM. So they're both going to be here to show us a few insights into their projects. So please, whoever is going to start the talk. Go ahead. Are you trying to share the screen?
Yes. Share screen. Share.
Okay. Yes, I can
Can
see
you see
it.
it now? Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
Just a minute. Come on. I have a small problem with my PC.
No worries. We have time.
What happened now? So while I'm trying to set up my presentation, I would like to say that this presentation will be made by, has been prepared by Dr. George Triadafilou, a research director in the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, and myself. We have very similar surnames and the same name, so it's very confusing sometimes, and I don't know what happened with my PC today, but it's not working, so I need to restart it. George, I don't know if you wish to. I'm sorry.
Let's see. No worries. Maybe we can try to share it again.
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Can you still see my screen?
Yes, now we can.
I don't know what's going on. All right.
It should work right now.
Should work, but it doesn't. Well,
George, maybe you have to do stop sharing. I can read this one. I don't know if it is wrong.
Here it is.
All right, maybe you're here. Good.
should be okay now.
Okay.
Apologies
Perfect.
for the delay. So the CLAIM project, initiated back in 2016-17, when the European Commission, reacting to the growing problem of sea litter and especially plastic pollution, launched a call for demonstration projects to clean and lay the ground for a healthy ocean, seas and coasts. So the European Commission requested that the demonstration project should develop and scale up innovative processes and measures to clean the selected sites and scale up innovative processes for visible and invisible litter. And when I will say in my presentation visible and invisible, I'm referring to macroplastics, which are pieces larger than 5 millimeters, and microplastics, which are less than 5 millimeter pieces. So CLAIM contributes to the efforts of the international community to advance our knowledge on the current status of marine plastic pollution, and will provide innovative technologies to reduce the amount and impact of plastic pollution in the Mediterranean and Baltic Seas. It is a joint effort of 21 partners from across 14 EU countries and Tunisia and Lebanon, and is led by the Hellenic Center for Marine Research in Greece. Existing practices for cleaning plastic litter in the sea mainly target on macroplastics, with the use of these in the establishment of a circular economy, and this is still in its infancy. Currently, microplastics represent a major threat for marine ecosystems and their services, with no robust methods for their treatment with existing technologies. So the primary objective of the CLAIM project is to provide practical tools for a step change towards the mitigation and efficient ecosystem management of marine litter pollution in the Mediterranean Sea and in the Baltic Sea. CLAIM is doing so by developing and demonstrating cost-efficient cleaning methods for visible and invisible plastics as near as possible to the major sources of marine litter. And this is mainly the rivers, the river estuaries, and the wastewater treatment plants, and to limit the amount of litter that is entering into the sea. So in this slide, you can see the objectives of our project that range from advance our knowledge on the current status of marine plastic pollution to provide innovative technologies able to reduce the amount and impact of plastic pollution on the ecosystem-based services in the Mediterranean and in the Baltic Sea, and set the basis for operational forecasting of the impacts of marine plastic litter pollution on ecosystem services. In addition, we use an ecosystem services angle, such as for the fishing industry or the aquaculture industry or for marine protected areas, to identify the areas where intervention with project developed technologies has the greatest potential to tackle marine litter issues and produce impact on human well-being. We also test the economic feasibility and social acceptance that enables us to build an institutional framework and encourage the uptake and upscaling of these technologies, and if possible, to change policy and public perceptions and provide advice for management decision-making through focused stakeholder engagement and other communication strategies. So the CLAIM develops 5 innovative cleaning technologies and approaches targeting in the prevention and in situ management of microplastics and microplastics. And we mainly focus on 2 areas. One is the wastewater treatment plants, where we have a significant problem with the microplastics. So one of the devices developed is a low-cost automated and self-cleaning filtering system that you can see here on the left. And this is installed before a photocatalytic nanocoating device that you can see here from the demonstrations in the laboratory in Sweden, in KTH. CLAIM is doing that in order to supply it with accumulated liquid litter of appropriate size and enhance the efficiency of the photocatalytic device by blocking the larger particles and only direct the smaller ones into the photocatalytic device. So this has already been installed in Greece in a wastewater plant in Megara and is able to treat for the moment 2 cubic meters per hour. This is the system, the experimental setup, and as soon as every night we send 1 cubic meter of backwash collected microplastics into a photocatalytic device, which is using plastic degrading nanocoatings to harness the sun's radiation and help rid the oceans from microplastics contamination. So modulated native zinc oxide materials have been chosen as the base photocatalyst. Nanocoatings were formulated using zinc oxide nanorods on various substrates and were thus evaluated for the degradation and degradation of common invisible microplastics such as polypropylene, polyethylene, and polystyrene using solar light. We have also proven that there is no ecotoxicological effect on the marine environment with the assistance of our Italian partners in CNR. So we have tested the effluents in a number of microalgae and Daphnia, which is a small crustacean, and there is no toxicological effect. So the methodology that we developed is very safe for the environment. Also, a marine system developed for cleaning and preventing visible litter from entering the sea at its source, and this is in river estuaries, river mouths, with a floating barrier, boom, and a containment system with multiple storage levels. And we call this invention the clean trash. So the clean trash system is an unparalleled and highly efficient solution to manually manage and remove marine litter from river mouths before the litter can enter into a larger body of seawater. I can show you a video here. So the clean trash system is collecting plastics and other floating debris from the surface of water systems, outflows of riverbeds, torrents, ports, etc. And it has been developed by a Greek company, New Naval. The clean trash system consists of an arrangement of floating booms that lead the waste to the galvanized steel collection cage that you can see here. This has 3 stores. When one is filled, the second one follows, and then a third one will follow after the second one will fill in. It is quite autonomous. It is quite automated, so it can use lighting, cameras, photovoltaic panels for power supply, sink and lift mechanism of the various apartments. The system has already been demonstrated and tested at the Kifisos river estuary back in 2019. So as you can see here, after a heavy rainfall, the system collected 8 cubic meters of waste in just 10 days. Most of them were plastic. So the system utilizes a combination of active operational systems and time-tested of oil spill response, salvage and marine protection equipment. That includes a heavy-duty containment boom with solid cylindrical floats with subsurface curve that contains and guides the litter. Here you can see the river mouth of Kifisos, which is in close to Piraeus area. This is the river, and this is the river mouth. It is next to a marina, as you can see here. So these booms guide all the litter into this construction, this cage, that after it is filled, it can be removed with the use of a crane and utilize and further exploit all this litter. So you might question, what are we going to do with all this litter? Because in very many countries, there are no facilities or technologies taken up from the municipalities on how to sort out all this litter. So what we propose in CLAIM is to collect all this. So you can see here that you can lift the containment and empty it in a container, and then further process can follow. So either this plastic can go for recycling, or alternatively, you can use it in a pyrolyzer. So we have developed in CLAIM 2 pyrolyzers that are able to treat the marine litter. So our pyrolyzer develops high temperature for transforming all this solid waste into a combustible, reusable gas. We call it syngas. So the solid plastic waste can be transformed into a combustible gas that can be used immediately on site as an energy source for ships and lighting and heating, or we can charge lithium batteries and you can then charge for instance, bicycles and so on. So we have demonstrated this pyrolyzer system in the port of Genova. And a smaller one followed that you can see here on the left, and it has been demonstrated in the port of Ancona. So it can even be installed in a vessel. So this has been developed by our Italian partner Iris, that has designed these two prototypes, and they have already been demonstrated, as you can see in this small video. So with the shredder, we are able to cut the litter into small pieces that, with a conveyor belt that you can see here, feed the pyrolytic device. So this here you can see the actual nucleus of the pyrolytic device. So it does not burn the litter, so it does not produce any dioxins, but converts them into a combustible gas, the syngas, and we can take the energy from the litter. So another automated sampling device has been developed, and you can see here that this is the first prototype on the left, and this is a more compact one that has been already installed in Aegean. This is the research vessel of HCMR, but also it has been installed in ships of opportunities that make the route from Tunisia to Europe, and it automatically collects samples from the sea. And why are we doing this? Because simply we do not know very well the situation in our seas and oceans. So apart from the 5 technologies that I explained to you, CLAIM is developing innovative forecasting tools and models to assess the distribution and forecast the distribution of marine plastic litter in the Mediterranean Sea and in the Baltic Sea. Here you can see a model of microplastics from 300 micrometers to 5 millimeters. This is the model developed by HCMR in the Mediterranean Sea. And of course, we have other more focused models in some study areas, that is in Saronikos Gulf in Greece, the Gulf of Lion in the Ligurian Sea, the Gulf of Gabes in Tunisia, and in the Baltic Sea, in the Gulf of Finland and the Belt Sea. So these existing model tools have been further developed to simulate the fate of the plastic litter and to identify pathways and accumulation areas. So we conducted in CLAIM new research to tackle the main problems of plastic drift and fate. So we examined the removal process through biofilm growth, sinking and sedimentation, the wave-induced drift of plastic pollutants, the beaching and reactivation of macroplastics on the shoreline. So our outcomes will include a multi-year hindcast run with realistic plastic output and source inputs, spatial and temporal patterns of micro and macroplastics in the Baltic and the Mediterranean Sea. We are able to identify the most heavily polluted areas and observe, of course, spatio-temporal patterns in the two seas. So our goal in the CLAIM project is to follow an ecosystem approach. So we aim to apply these forecasting and modeling tools to identify areas where the proposed intervention resulting from the nanotechnology, resulting from nanotechnology, the floating barriers and so on, have the greatest potential to limit the impacts of plastic pollution on ecosystem services. So in particular, the approaches that demonstrated are assessed with their ability to limit the impact of macro and microplastic pollution on ecological services stemming from commercial feedstocks, aquaculture facilities, marine protected areas, so biodiversity hotspots, as well as recreational areas in the two seas of focus, the Mediterranean and the Baltic Sea. So furthermore, activities in CLAIM identify areas and services under threat from macro and microplastic pollution, as well as we assess the degree of threat that they are experiencing at present and what could be done in the future if these CLAIM technologies will be installed. So we build preliminary maps of plastic pollution based on these models that I have explained to you. And these maps include their distribution in the Baltic and in the Mediterranean, the ecosystem services and their potential overlap. So we are able to identify areas where we have major concentrations of plastics, and therefore we are able to better tackle the problem or even design some cleaning efforts there. And what we want to do is to mitigate the influence of these visible and invisible plastics. But how are we going to, what do we do here? We evaluate the susceptibility of ecosystem services spatially and in terms of service type to the impact of micro and macroplastics. And we purpose-build transport models and plastic sources that are employed to assess the degree of transport to services. So we're working on the link between the ecosystem services and human well-being by sourcing the micro and macroplastics areas and their distribution in both systems, and we simulate what will happen if the CLAIM technologies will be applied, and we can see a significant decrease on the microplastics and macroplastics concentrations in the marine environment. CLAIM is also identifying the most promising business model and business cases for which viable business models include appropriate financing concepts. We analyze the legal and policy frameworks necessary to ensure the uptake and upscaling of such innovation technologies. We are gauging stakeholder acceptance on these technologies and public perception on marine plastics, and we assess the integrated impacts of these technologies for upscaling purposes. So we have already identified barriers behind the current legal and policy frameworks, and include an institutional policy and stakeholder analysis on the main CLAIM technologies. So in a nutshell, this is the CLAIM project. It is technologies and methods and tools to increase the knowledge and predictions of micro and macroplastics in the marine environment. Thank you for your time and for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. George Tiamfadilis. Now, I'm just gonna pick up a couple of questions that our participants have kept for you. So there is a question from Sara Bergamin, who's asking something about the CLAIM project. So she says, how can we effectively make sure that the value of ecosystem service is perceived by the public?
This is a very interesting question. What we try to do is to evaluate the effect, and we are gathering information on, for instance, if you want to enjoy a clean beach, then someone is paying this cost. I mean, the local municipality or the people that rent a sea area in order to sell later on the umbrellas and have some service during the tourist season, pay some money in order to clean the beach. If we will manage to stop the main entries of plastic pollution, which is through the rivers and okay, mainly in the beach, we collect the plastics that you can see. But imagine that the microplastics are absorbed by mussels, for instance, and they end up in our stomach. So we want really to contribute to a more rational marine spatial planning in order to avoid areas of that we know that through the currents and the various streams, the microplastics will be accumulated in this area. So potentially we can move mussel farms or fish farms in areas that are not affected so much by the ocean circularity. And by measuring, of course, all these impacts for the ecosystem services might have is not easy, but I'm not a socioeconomist. I'm sure my colleagues will be able to better respond in this question. But my understanding is that if we are able to prevent additional plastic, that we all know that every year tons and tons of plastics end up, unfortunately, in our seas from the mismanaged waste in the land, then I think that this is already a very good start to stop the input sources and then focus on cleaning the remaining amounts that are in the sea.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got another question from Arno Durian. I apologize in advance for the pronunciation of the names. So he says, this is for PlastiCircle. So he says, can I throw waste bags into the containers or item for item? Will the system survive the treatment during the emptying into the garbage cars?
Yeah, I think I understood the question. I'm not sure if it's working, the system, if I throw the items one by one in the container. Is that correct, Daniela?
He's asking whether he's supposed to throw the items one by one rather than all together.
Yeah, in this time, actually, I know that there are other systems that are also working with this issue, or working with this way. In order to apply PlastiCircle, it's needed that we don't throw the items one by one, because we need, let's say, one bag, because everything that is inside the bag is considered as the material deposited by one citizen. So if we are throwing one by one, then the system is not working. But I know that there are other systems that are also dealing with these, let's say, rewards with one by one. So I think we are making developments all together. So let's see what is happening in the following years. But no, PlastiCircle is just for one global bag.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now I've got a question. I'll start with a PlastiCircle. So you've already partially replied during the presentation. So we know that the recycling of plastics is highly dependent on good consumer behavior, but also recycling is quite complicated, especially when plastics is used in combination with other kind of materials. And also, we have to consider the fact that sometimes plastic materials are perceived as having lower quality and higher price compared to their counterparts. So my question is, how will you motivate companies to sort plastic waste, recycle, and reuse the recycled materials?
Yeah, I think that of course, the legislation is in this direction. We have like very high objectives for 2025 and 2030 for the different member states. Also, so this is one way. I think regarding plastics in general, is 65% should be recycled in 25, 70 in the year 30. Okay, so the member states should do something in order to fulfill the legislation. Also, the companies are forced by the European plastic strategy to make all plastic packaging recyclable by 2030. Recyclable, compostable, reusable. So there are, let's say, very strong legislation for companies placing the packaging in the market, and also for the member states that are, or the companies doing this treatment. So legislation is there. But apart from that, apart from the legislation, I think in order to boost recycling, it's very important that the companies can make money with the plastic. So the more we are investing in applications that have a high value, then it's more likely that companies will start recycling plastics more. So if it's economically efficient, then many companies will appear in the market doing this application. If not, if plastic is not with quality and the applications are low value, then it's very difficult that the companies will start doing this activity if it's not feasible economically.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got another question for the CLAIM project. How do you measure your contribution with respect to an overall global efficient cleanup of the plastics lost to our environment, to our oceans, basically?
George, would you like to respond to this one?
Thank you, George. Well, the idea comes as following. We may implement all these devices, and we can see how efficient they are, taking into account the ecosystem. And also, we care mostly about the ecosystem services. The idea behind that also is that we care about the upscaling of the devices, so we can have a better position for the environment. It is important to see, okay, we implement this probably in a Gulf. We can upscale this to think about maybe in a bigger area, or in a region like Mediterranean or the Baltic Sea that we are working now. And the effect is somebody to consider that maybe can be introduced around the world. Imagine that we know that maybe 8 rivers brings more than 90% of the plastics in the marine environment. You know that when they come into the marine environment, it's very difficult to take it out. So it is important if we can do something, and you can implement a boom, the floating barrier, something like that you collect the plastics, then you have a good progress. From the other way around, I have to mention also here, because I don't like to hide behind of the words, that it's not just only to put the boom over there, but also the different areas should take into account that they have to do something what is collected by the boom, and to do to find the appropriate solution, maybe the circular economy and so on. Another thing that I would like to mention also, which is it is the one that we don't see, it is the microplastics. Microplastics exist everywhere, and there are, although you can see plastic bags, foam, things like that, and you say, look at this area is very dirty, you don't see how much of that, how many microplastics exist in the marine environment that you don't see. And you care about the human well-being, and you care, and you don't like to see microplastics on the plate. I mean, by aquaculture principles, by fisheries, and things like that, or by oysters, or by mussels, and things like that. That's the idea. The idea is to upscale and to find out solutions that can help the world ocean. If we can.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Now I'm just gonna ask you, ask all of you a question that's more general. What would you like to see happening at the EU level for plastic management and waste?
George, would you like to answer?
Oh, yeah.
Go.
I think Cesar wanted to start.
Yeah, Dr. Aliaga. Yeah,
okay.
I'll just give the floor to Dr. Aliaga, and then we'll move on.
Perfect. Yeah, so many things, but I think they are very active, like changing legislation. They are adapting also. We have policy officers always like aware of our projects just to try to change legislation because everything is moving so fast, and then legislation should also move so fast. So I can say many things that should be changing, and I'm sure that they will be changing in the following years for sure. But one of the things, if I have to choose one, maybe the price of the landfilling, okay? Because I think the more expensive that the landfilling is, then the more profitable it is for the companies to valorize plastic. So I think that in the following years it will be some movements from Europe or for the States on that, not to make more and more expensive, not to do a good treatment of the plastics.
Perfect.
I would also like to say that so far the European Commission has been quite proactive. For instance, see the latest legislation for the ban of single-use plastics. This is a major step towards minimizing what we often see in our seas, which are single-use plastics or cigarette butts or stuff like that. So it's also that the people have to behave in a more responsible way. For instance, if you smoke, you do not harm only the environment and yourself, but the environment by extinguishing your cigarettes in the sun, because more or less this will end up in the sea somehow, or it will be taken up by a marine organism. So also, since the main source of plastics are rivers, and rivers are something public, I think that it should be very good if we could promote any initiatives that contribute to stop the entries in the marine environment through the rivers, for example, like the clean trash system or similar devices that have been invented throughout the world in order to put a stop in all these amounts that are washed into the sea after some rainstorms. And also agree that more incentives should be given to innovative ideas that try to survive into a very demanding financial environment. And as Cesar said, if we keep the old practices, keep dumping all our waste into landfills, this will certainly not give space to innovative ideas and solutions to come into the real market. So more incentives to these ideas.
It's clear, loud and clear. Dr. Trentafilo, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would like to say a few words about that. I recall when I was in Brussels and I was talking with one of the officers, and he said that, look at this. This is not only for the environment, but actually it's a political decision. I mean, countries or Europe might find some directions and can say, look at this, it's prohibited this to be done. I mean, like the small materials, this micro things that exist in the toothpaste, in this kind of phase, and blah blah for washing hairs and so on. Some countries already, like the United States, I think in Maine and so on, they have also accepted this one, and they say, look at this, we don't use this material because it's damage for the human people and so on. The other thing that I would like also to mention is that we see that Europe now tries to find substitute material for the plastic. Although the plastics are cheap, are easy. Now we have all the technology to do many things, but actually they are very bad for the environment. And Europe likes to find other substitutes that might be maybe more expensive, but better for the environment. And maybe we have to follow this direction too, to find out solutions like that. That's all I had to say.
Thank you all for your contribution. So before concluding, we have one last question from Guzel Imperiale. So he's asking, do you also do an educational session for the citizens?
Yes, I will. Maybe they can reply also the other with me. Actually, without education, we cannot go further ahead. I think now that people, even kids, are more sensitive for the environment, and they care, and we have to put this information even in the elementary schools. But which is more important, the families. The families should provide this information to the people, to the kids, so they know how to behave in harmony with the environment, and they know what is the bad things that they can do in the environment.
Mhm. Yeah, just to add what George said, I totally agree. And also, I think it's important now that since we have social networks, we have communication is very easy. I think it's important not only to communicate to citizens, but also to try to engage them in the co-creation of solutions. Sometimes it's important that if they are participating, if they feel like main actors in this work, so we can develop things thought by citizens and done by citizens, and then of course transmit them and also engage them. So co-creation, I think, is also very important.
Indeed, and CLAIM, as George said, has created tools, and we have presentations tailor-made even for young students in the primary school. And we have also developed some series of videos that are broadcasted to the general public in many events whenever we are called or participate, researchers' nights or other broad events that are organized by the European Commission, like the European Maritime Day and so on. We actively participate, and of course, in our website, there are available such information tools.
Okay, thank you all for these valuable information. And now, I'll just wrap up. And so I really want to thank you for being here and for accepting this invitation today, also on behalf of our audience. And before wrapping up, I'm just going to say that the next episode will be held on the 31st of March. So stay tuned for updates on Velta's page. And that's it. So thank you very much for today.
We thank you for your kind invitation.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
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 Bye, George.
Bye, Cesar.